Hello everybody, Basilisk Fang here, and welcome back to Nier Automata. I do not have too much planned for today, quite honestly. I mean, we'll find things to do, but we have all the endings, we finished all the side quests, we found all the weapons and fully upgraded them. We're running low on things we can actually do. However, I was thinking about how a few episodes ago we finally defeated Emil's clones, which A, finished up a side quest, and B, I think closed out Emil's story for us. And it seems like the type of thing that this game might do to then change something about the places where Emil either lives or hangs out, depending on how you want to classify them. So by that, I mean I want to go and check the basement of the mall where all of the moon, lily, flower, whatever they're called, are, and see if there's anything there that has changed or been triggered by him being defeated. And then I want to go and check his base underneath the city and see if anything has changed there. And if nothing has changed, you'll probably not be seeing this part. With all the elevators that are in this game, we're kind of missing elevator music, don't you think? I'll put some in for you. There, that music was lovely, wasn't it? Let's see. Definitely very pretty down here, and apparently even when you go back in time to replay as 2B, you can find her, blindfold, that's what it's called, sitting here. So apparently she's dead but alive, and we're here honoring her as herself. I don't know, it's very, very strange. Now that said, I'm not seeing too much down here. I don't see any new chests. The items scattered around seem like the ones that are usually here, so I don't think there's anything down here. Well, now we have to go check out Emil's home underneath the city, which is a pain in the butt to get to, so this is going to be fun. I am full up on those, so I can't pick that up. You know, this map is actually pretty big when you think about it. There is technically a fast travel system, but in order to use it, you have to be at a fast travel location, aka you have to be at one of the, like, save box transporter things. And that's all fine and dandy. It's really good, especially if you're basing yourself out of, like, the Resistance Camp or Pascal's Village, because those all have those boxes there. But you can't just, like, go to the map and select a fast travel point and use that like you can in games like, say, Breath of the Wild. And because of that, it makes the back and forth kind of tedious, I guess I would say. I mean, it can be fun, and if you actually, like, fight things as you travel back and forth, you actually don't have as much trouble finding items as you might otherwise. Like, I've had to go on special hunts to find certain weapons, but I actually feel like for this type of game, I've gotten off pretty easy. Because as I'm running around, and especially now that I've gotten so powerful that I can almost one-shot the machines, if you fight things as you travel, you don't have to go searching for too many items. However, there are, like, unique items that you still have to look for. What the what? My elevator's locked? Well, that's gonna make this even more tedious. Now I have to go all the way to the bottom and I can't even fast travel there. In a similar vein to making sure that you get all of the items that you need throughout the game by killing things, that's also a good way to get the unit data that you need. Because there are some things that only appear in certain areas, so if you're always fighting everything you come across, then you can fill out your unit data much faster. That said, I actually didn't have too much trouble filling out the unit data for standard things. It was the enhanced versions that only show up in very specific locations, and even then they only show up like 5% of the time or whatever. Those were the hard ones to find. I fell all the way down. I did not mean to do that. That was a whoopsie. Well, it actually recovers me here at the bottom, so maybe that's actually just a smart way to fast travel all the way from the top down to here. Did I ever fish when I was down here? I feel like there'd be good fish here. Hold on, let's try fishing. I mean, it's like perfectly clear water. There's got to be like rare fish species down here, right? Apparently the current is drifting ever so slightly to the left, despite this being like a pool of water, not a river. Whoop, we got something. Ooh, we got something. What did we get? That's a big one. Is that an Iapama or whatever it's called? Arowana. I'm sorry, I confused it with the other one that starts with an A. I play Animal Crossing, I know what fish are called. I actually find this fishing minigame somewhat tedious. Like, you have to wait a while to get even a nibble. Alright, what did we get this time? It's another arowana. Alright, I can tell when I'm not wanted by the fish let's go and see if we can find Emil's house. This is the part where it gets dark. Spooky. All right, let's go ahead and unlock this elevator just so we actually have it. Actually, I don't know if that counts. I might have to actually ride it. Nice, we're not actually getting in the elevator. There's a ton of enhanced units down here. I'm surprised that I was missing enhanced units with how many enhanced units are down here. Wait, is this door not open? Can I not open the door? Oh no. The door's locked. I can't even go and visit his house. Well, then this appears to have been a colossal waste of time. I'm gonna have a very angry elevator ride back up to the surface. I like how the cave brightness is brighter the higher up you are in the cave, which makes absolutely no sense. A cave's a cave. It's dark no matter what. I mean, if you're actually all the way over here where there's an opening in the ceiling down to the water and all that stuff, then yeah, that would be brighter. Yeah, see this yellow light area, this makes sense because there's blazing hot sunshine coming in through here. This is bright even for the sun. I wonder if the ozone layer is gone or something. But then once you get in here and it bounces off the walls a few times and completely diffuses, it should be just as pitch black back in these caves as it is down at the bottom. There. That's my opinion. It's a bad game because of the light physics. There, I said it. Never mind the fantastic concept and story and character design and combat mechanics and bosses and everything else that this game has. The light physics ruin it for everybody. You know what? I just realized that I'm an idiot because I haven't actually talked to Emil yet on this particular chapter select, because I did all the chapter selects and stuff last time to find all the units, and you have to actually re-engage with Emil every time you do a chapter select before he unlocks his house. Now, why they programmed it that way, I don't know. I guess to prevent people from people who already know where his house is, I guess it prevents them from going there prematurely on a new save or something like that, but seems like you could have worked it out better. What was that? You want to know where I live? I didn't ask that. Well, I live deep, deep underground. Picture something deep, then go deeper. Yeah, I don't want to know where you live. I just want the keys to your house. So I actually don't remember if I've mentioned this before. I feel like I've mentioned it, at least for some of the characters. But a lot of the characters in this game are actually named after philosophers. So like if you remember in Pascal's village, there's the robot philosopher that all the women fawn over called Jean-Paul. He's supposed to be a reference to the philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. And then we have Engels here, who, can we talk to you? We can, but we're not going to. But Engels is also the name of a philosopher. There's a lot of named characters in this game that are named after philosophers, which I find interesting because one of my majors in college was philosophy. I don't think I studied any of those philosophers specifically, but I studied the concept. So one legitimate criticism of this game that I just thought of, because I just went to the resistance camp and like cleared out space for plug-in chips because I can't collect any more plug-in chips right now. My pockets are full. And it made me think about how the fact that there's a plug-in chip limit is actually kind of dumb, because it's actually a pretty generous limit. I've got like dozens, maybe even hundreds of them that I'm allowed to carry. But at that point, it seems dumb to limit it. You know what I'm saying? So back in the day, one of the main reasons that they did item limits in like your inventory and stuff was like literally for technical reasons. Like you can only use so much memory, so much storage space, all that stuff. And then you could also combine that with the second reason for actually limiting the space, which is for like gameplay tactical reasons. For example, a lot of turn-based RPGs, or even regular RPGs, quite frankly, the ability to have and use items is part of the game, right? Like if you could just carry a bunch of healing items and use them willy-nilly without any consequences or whatever, then suddenly a lot of role-playing games become super easy, right? Think of like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You can just pause and eat anytime you want. So you have a virtually unlimited amount of health with you if you prepare properly. Now that said, Breath of the Wild implements a limitation on the number of food dishes that you can carry, and that makes sense. In a game like this, though, I don't know if that necessarily makes sense. And even if it did make sense, it would make sense for healing items, not necessarily for items that you can equip. Because they already limit how much you can have equipped at one time, and that limit to me seems kind of small, but that's part of the strategy. You only have so many slots that you can equip into, you have a million things you want to equip, you're gonna have to adjust it for your playstyle, whatever. But the fact that you can't even carry like all of the ones that you want unequipped, does that make sense? Like, the fact that the limit is so high means that it's not a strategy thing, and if it's not a strategy thing, then why have a limit at all? So, in summary, I think the weapon, or the plug-in chip limit in your inventory in this game is stupid. That's all you gotta know. That's the only part you gotta remember. The reasons why aren't important. I just think it's kind of dumb to limit the number of chips you can carry. Well, here's Emil's house. There's a chest. Didn't we already get this chest? Power up part L obtained. Oh, well. We did not already get this chest because I know that for a fact there's only 3 of those in the entire game. Is this the Emil mask?
Alert. Theft of physical objects.
Oh, I wonder, yeah. So I could take that. I wonder if it would trigger his boss battle again if I really wanted to do the boss battle again, which I don't, so we're gonna leave it there. But all right, so this was a lot of time spent just to figure out that yes, I did want to come down here because there was a power up part L, which leads me into the next thing that I was gonna do, which was try and find the power up part L so I could upgrade my last pod. It's one of the only technical things we're missing so far in this playthrough is upgrading all the pods. We upgraded all the weapons, and we upgraded 2 of the pods, but I was missing a power up part L to fully upgrade the last one. Now all that said, I'm hoping that I have all the other items already on hand, because I don't want to have to go on a wild goose chase to find a bunch of like pristine screws or something like that. I called it a wild goose chase. It's not really a wild goose chase because the screws definitely exist, and they definitely exist in specific areas. In fact, you can probably buy them from a meal. I guess I'm just trying to say I don't like the hassle. And that's not necessarily a criticism of the game. I mean, it kinda is, but I feel like if I was playing this game on my own, I wouldn't mind some of the back and forth that happens, especially now that I've played it once and I can start to like do things more efficiently because now I know where a lot of the stuff is. I can plan accordingly and make sure that I don't have to visit places more often than necessary. But my main annoyance is just trying to do this while also recording the Let's Play, right? I mean, if I have to spend hours upon hours doing the recording and then hours upon hours doing the editing, like I'd rather not have to do all the back and forth, make the recording as short as possible, which makes the editing as short as possible, which makes my job easier. I didn't mean for this to turn into like a whine fest from me. Oh well, let's get back into it. We're gonna see what we need for this pod. Ah, so close. We need one more complex gadget. I do feel like I could buy those from Emil though. Or maybe we might even be able to buy them from the guy at the amusement park. I'm gonna go check that out first because he's always in the same spot. Trying to hunt down Emil could be really a pain, quite frankly. Like right now, Emil's not even on the map. Where is he? I don't know. Pretty sure I had once or twice where the game just completely bugged out and he would never move from where he was. So I was trying to get him to go somewhere else so I could buy different stuff from him because what he sells is dependent on his location. So I had to like save and reload until he finally moved somewhere else. Pain in the butt. Whoa, 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 why are you attacking this guy? 9S, what's the... 9S, stop! 9S, they're friendly. What are you doing? 9S, stop! 9S! Oops, well. I meant to talk to 9S, but I did a special move. 9S, come back, stop, let me talk to you. 9S, jeez, buddy, you had enough? I had to set him to pass it. Oh, now you've pissed off this guy, so now we have to kill him. For some reason, his playstyle was set to aggressive, and he just went completely ape on these friendly robots, basically. 9S, I understand that you have like this intense hatred for machines, but that comes later in the game. 2B's still alive. You're like happy-go-lucky right now. Hey, I know I killed a bunch of your friends. Well, I didn't. 9S did, but can I still buy stuff from you? Not seeing any sort of complex anything here. Well, that means we're gonna have to do this the hard way. All right, so apparently you can't buy the complex gadgets anywhere, so I was just on a wild goose chase. That time I actually was on a wild goose chase. However, you can just find them lying around, so that's what we're gonna do. In fact, I think we should be able to find them right here in the city ruins. Oop, hello, what are you? I'll take this. Complex gadget, awesome. I came to the river to pan for gold, and instead I found complex machinery. And luckily for me, I only needed the one, so we might get this done faster than I originally thought. All right, let's upgrade this pod, get this over with. Pod C, we got everything we need. Let's upgrade, bada bing, bada boom, and we got the achievement. All right, well, that was anticlimactic, especially since I don't use that pod. However, we should probably check what other achievements there are and see if we can do any of them. So achievement 21 is cherish our resources. I don't really know what that's about. That might require some research. And then achievement 27 is weapons maniac. I don't know what that one's about either because I have all the weapons. I have them fully upgraded. I have all the pods. So I don't really know what to do about that one either. That one contains spoilers. I'm not sure what that's about because I've already played the whole game. around by the pond. That suggests to me that I need to buy all the fish. I need to catch all the fish, or at least catch a certain number of fish. That's probably not going to happen. Okay, after looking into it, so cherish our resources, somebody laying on like a pedestal or something, like it's a funeral or whatever. That's because the achievement is you have to collect 100 bodies. I'm surprised I haven't collected 100 bodies because I've collected a lot of bodies. So that's something we might actually be able to do. And then this achievement, the Weapons Maniac, I don't have all the pod programs, which I completely forgot about those. I'm also surprised I don't have all those because I've been like everywhere and found a lot of rare ones. So we're definitely gonna hunt those down. And the fish one, we need to collect 20 fish, which I don't think is all the fish, but it's still way more fish than I've caught already. So right now I'm gonna focus on the pod programs. I have no idea where to start. I do actually have some ideas of where to look, but it requires me to play as A2. I noticed last time I found a pod, I don't remember which pod it was, but I found a pod next to the dead body of one of the like heavy armor soldiers that died at the beginning of Route C and D or whatever. Oh, I found a pod program, okay. I'm guessing that there's more of those around because I feel like I found more than one pod that way. So I'm gonna guess it's in that storyline. I'm gonna try as hard as I can to find it on my own, just for the prestige of it, I guess. Either way, that's the first place I'm gonna look.
More of you want to get killed, huh?
Ha! I just load up the game and it did the button prompt for a taunt, which I either never knew you could do or forgot that you could do. So that's fun.
What? Is that all?
I would have been taunting the whole game if I'd known that was a thing. If you're watching this and you want to know how to taunt, first of all, the game tells you and I just didn't pay attention, but second of all, you basically, whatever you're using for your light attack,
know when you're beaten.
hold down the button at the end of your attack and she'll taunt. Or he'll taunt. I'm assuming 9S will do the same thing. Well, that's not a pod, but the fact that there's dead bodies around here is promising. So I'm gonna check inside the factory, and one of the reasons that I think that that's a promising place to check is that there's no reason for A2 to go to the factory. Not that I can remember, anyway, during her story. You come into here, this is where everything goes wrong with Pascal and the children. But other than you just doing side quests, there's not a story reason for her to come in here. So maybe there's a dead android body around here along with... Have I not hacked that before? How have I not hacked you? Make a mental note of that. We gotta come back for that with 9S. Anyway, like I was saying, you know, other than side quests, there's no reason for her to be in here. So it seems like a good place to put stuff. Same with 9S, there's not really any reason for him to be here either. Now that said, we've already pretty thoroughly explored, anyway, the whole basement area. So I don't think it'd be down there. Besides, if my theory is correct about the pod being with a dead android, there's no way, because the dead androids are supposedly like flung up in the air and that's why they're scattered around, you know? That sounded much darker once I said it out loud. Anyway, that means they have to be in places where like you have access to the sky. So they can't be in the basement of the factory. There's no way that they would land in the basement of the factory, but in the upper levels of the factory, I think that's fair game. Ow, you suck. Oop, there's a dead body back here. I'll get that. I don't see a pod though. There's another hackable chest back here. Have I just not been through here as 9S? Yay, we finally found some daylight. All right, do we see any dead bodies around? Not really seeing any dead bodies around. Well, here's a dead body. There's no pod, but here's a dead body. I'll take that. Thank you very much. It gets to be an extra one towards the achievement. And there's another hackable chest in here. I know that we're definitely coming in here as 9S as soon as I finish exploring as A2.
I'll shred you.
Ha! Her taunt pisses off the robots, which makes sense because it's a taunt. I don't know if that's an advantage or a disadvantage or if it's just cosmetic or what, but they get all hot and bothered if you taunt them. All right, is there anything over here where 9S starts out? Probably not. Well, another dead body without a pod. Just harvest that. Oh, I should have seen that coming. I'm surprised that wasn't an instant death, quite frankly. Oh, hello, what's up here? I was like, hey, can I jump up here and see if there's anything up here? And lo and behold, there's stuff up here, including a pod. Let's get the item first. Iron ore, don't care. All right, what's this pod? Missile, and we got all pod programs, thank the Lord. I was worried there'd be more than one pod program that I was missing, but it seemed unlikely. All right, we got that out of the way. Let me just make sure there aren't any more bodies around here or something along those lines. I was right about it being with a dead body, though. There was a handful of ways that I could think of where I would be missing pod programs. And that was one of them, is just I didn't find all the dead units with pods still. The other option was that I would have to go fishing, which I didn't want to do. But since I hadn't done a ton of fishing to begin with, like that would also make logical sense. But I've also found a handful of pod programs by doing that. Actually, I found a whole pod. I think the missile pod you have to get by fishing. I didn't mean to fall in here. All right, so one of the last things I want to do before I wrap up this episode is go and get those chests from the factory, because there might be lore in them that I haven't read yet, and I would be interested in that if there's actually lore. If it's just stupid items, then I don't even know if you're going to see this part. But lore would be nice, but I also want to see if 9S also taunts, so let's see if we can taunt. No, I don't think 9S can taunt. Well, that's a bummer. Maybe it is only A2. Maybe 9S and 2B are too level-headed to do taunts, but A2 is... Well, she's not as level-headed, let's just say that. Or at least she doesn't start off as level-headed. But that's part of the point, right? Throughout the C and D storyline, we see 9S become more and more, like, crazy and unpredictable and potentially evil. Whereas A2, who wasn't really ever evil to begin with, but she sort of has a redemption arc. Of like, I didn't agree with Yorha, but I can agree that we have a shared enemy type thing. Interesting. So here's something that I hadn't quite caught on to right away. I mean, I had my suspicions, but the number of times I've been in here, I never noticed. So when I just came in here as A2, this whole area was empty, right? Because Pascal hadn't set up here yet in her storyline. And I was playing from like the earliest point you could as A2. Well, now I'm playing from the earliest point you can as 9S, and there is all this stuff here, which means that 9S doesn't wake up until A2 has basically finished her entire story. Which is interesting. Now, I kind of already knew that, because if I were to go to Pascal's village as 9S right now, then it's abandoned and Pascal has no idea who you are. So definitely things have happened, but I guess, I don't know, if you need more evidence that these are not happening at exactly the same time, there's your evidence. All right, so here's the first chest I want to hack. I feel like I've hacked this before. It's right in the open. It seems like I would have noticed it, right? It's probably just an item. A pious robot's will. All right, it was not just an item. I do like lore, alright. I feel so blessed to have been able to join this organization, for I, unlike other machine life forms, have found meaning in death. At first, all I did was study the religion of humans, but then I came to know the existence called God. To be honest, I still don't know what God truly is, but there is something else I learned since coming here. A life that seems devoid of purpose when faced alone can be perceived as meaningful when you're with someone else. In a world consumed by conflict and hatred, gaining such peace of mind was a happy thing indeed. For us, death is not the end, it is the beginning. There is nothing so happy as becoming God with everyone else. The Religious Order of Divinity through Death, Director, Public Relations. Interesting. There certainly is a lot of philosophy in this game. It's almost like a nihilistic view to religion, which is a thing. You can look up philosophers such as Kierkegaard, who had similar views, I guess you could say. A lot of people are familiar with Friedrich Nietzsche's view of, you know, nihilism, where like nothing matters, so you have to like make things matter. And a lot of people, since Nietzsche was also an atheist, think that, well, that view is an atheistic view, but it's not necessarily. You can have a nihilistic view of the world and still believe in a God. They're not mutually exclusive. At the end of the day, of course, the sort of key purpose of the nihilistic view is to understand that life is what you make of it, not necessarily what somebody else wants you to make it into. So then you have this sort of perspective of that from the robots where, you know, if you existed in this world by yourself, then what's the point? But if you exist in it with other people that you can, you know, have relationships with, help, support, whatever, you know, suddenly there's meaning. I don't know, it's all very interesting. Anyway, is this gonna be more lore? Again, this is another chest that I feel like I've gotten before. Is it just an item? It's a cure-all plus heal-all, okay. I don't use those. In fact, there's a lot of items, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are items in this game that fix status effects, and I haven't had a lot of status effects. There was like one enemy that actually caused status effects. It's like a weird RPG carryover. It's almost like they had the idea to have like tons of status effects, and then it ruined some aspect of the game. Maybe it was too complicated to implement. Maybe it made the game too difficult. Maybe it didn't fit with the narrative. Who knows? So they removed them, but they kept the heal all like status items in. If you really, really intensely study video games, which I wouldn't say that I do, but I sort of pick up on things just from playing them so much. You will notice certain things that get left behind from previous concepts. And sometimes it's straight up explicit, just like in Skyrim. I don't remember, it's been a long time since I played Skyrim, but I remember the first time I played it on the PlayStation 3, which means there wasn't like any patches or updates or fixes to the games. You couldn't mod it, whatever. And there's a quest in Skyrim where you're supposed to, it's in like the College of Winterhold. You're supposed to find like a necklace or something that belongs to one of the professors, and to do it, you're supposed to hunt down like his 4 dead students. It's something like find his 4 dead students or something like that. And that quest was intended to be removed, was my understanding, but they forgot to remove the trigger. So without either a patch to the game or a mod to the game, you can start the quest but never finish it. And that's just, an example of things getting modified, but you can see that they used to exist. That's an extreme example. Archive obtained factory cafeteria sign. I feel like I've gotten that one before. Yeah, it doesn't even show up as new in my intel, so I'm guessing I've gotten it before. There are some games where it's actually kind of like tricky to notice that there are concepts in the game that had since been abandoned. But if you pay close attention, you can notice. And I'm not 100% certain on this, but I do know that in a game like Cyberpunk 2077, which the woman who does the voice of A2 in this game does a voice in that game as well. So there's a parallel here. I'm not just rambling, but I'm mostly just rambling. That game spent 7+ years in development. They announced it back in 2013, which suggests that they had started it sooner. I don't know when they started it, but it spent so long in development, and the story was rewritten so many times that there are pieces of the game that don't necessarily make sense in the context of the end story. And I don't have any good examples of that. And it's pretty subtle, especially when you consider how big the game is. And there's like, how do you know if something was supposed to be a side quest all along, or if it became a side quest after the game was rewritten? It's not an easy question to answer, but I think that's the short answer, is there are things in that game that were probably meant to be part of the main story, and then when the main story was changed, they either removed them entirely, removed them partially, but left behind some clues that they used to exist, either intentionally or unintentionally, or they turned them into side quests instead of main quests. I don't remember what my main point was. I literally just started rambling about video games. I started by talking about theistic nihilism and somehow ended up talking about how you can see abandoned concepts in video games. I don't know what the heck is wrong with my brain. Or not necessarily what's wrong with my brain, but how did I string that together? What was my thought process? Maybe it's all on video because I've just been rambling. I can't be expected to remember what I said 2 seconds ago. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Actually, I can remember. I didn't have breakfast, but I can't remember what I had for lunch. That's not true either. I remember what I had for lunch, but that's because I have the same lunch every single day, so it's actually pretty easy to remember. So we went from talking about the complexities of video game development and stories to me talking about lunch. What has this particular video turned into? I think it's ultimately just a sign that it's time to end. So thank you everybody so much for watching. I certainly appreciate it. There is one more thing in this game that we're definitely going to do, and I'll do that next week. But then after that, we might be looking at a little bit of a hiatus, like a week or two, just for the Christmas break or whatever. And then in the new year, come back with Nier Replicant. Yeah, I think that'll work out. I think we can do one more episode of this, and then first weekend of January, we can get into Nier Replicant, and we can figure out how all this started, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Thanks again, and I will see you guys all next time. Bye-bye!